I think the number one issue is about the economy. And I'm a former economics teacher and somebody who has been in government that has helped communities to thrive. So I remember when this area used to be called the Valley of Opportunity. We used to be called also the most progressive county in all of New York State. Downstate could not keep up with us. We were thriving and very safe. So in the past 20 years, things have changed. So we've become the second highest poverty rate in all of New York State for our county. Our homeless rate has increased by 50%. The graduates from our college, we have some of the most brilliant minds, yet our unemployment rate for our graduates is 4 times higher than the national average. You know, we have taxes that are suffocating. We have all these regulations that are killing businesses. So we're going in the wrong direction. So how do we go in the right direction? That's the important part. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get a hold of our government. It's become too expansive and too expensive. We have to start making the government accountable to us. Because when you think about it, we are the employers. The people in elected office are the employees. They're supposed to be our voice. And we go ahead and give them our jobs through our vote. We can also kick them out of the jobs because of our vote. So how do we go ahead and make them accountable? First of all, we have a lot of transparency. We don't want where they're allowed to give themselves 29% pay raises like they've done in the past. That doesn't help anyone. That money could have gone to programs and services we need. And that's the big problem here. They're looking at their wants, and it's excessive wants, rather than looking at the needs that the people need. We have so little in programs and services, including mental health and substance abuse, that we actually need here. And we're instead spending on things like the pay raises. They also have, where they ushered in this year, that if you're running for elected office, collectively, we would be getting millions of dollars to run our campaigns. So, for example, with my position alone, candidates are allowed to get up to $175,000 of taxpayer dollars. So think of it this way. There's 150 assembly seats times 2 people, so 300 times $175,000. That's a lot of money that could be going to the people, not to go ahead and give us 1 extra flyer that we could send to people or 1 extra commercial. If you're running for Senate, it's double that. By the time you get up to governor, it's $3.5 million per candidate. That is a waste of money. We have to start being accountable for the people. The second part of making our economy grow is we have all of these roads, and so many people are leaving out of here in droves to them. They are going up to Rochester for the MedTech hub, or up to Syracuse for the manufacturing hub, or they go downstate for the financial hub. But we've forgotten that we are at the focal point. We're right in the center. The roads are supposed to come to us so we can build this hub again and be prosperous. And when we're doing that, we're also helping the trades, because now you need the people to build the buildings, the electrical, the plumbing. You need the people for the roads and so forth. So we're employing a lot of people. When we're employing a lot of people, we're helping out the small businesses, because now we can spend the money on the goods and services they do. So now the small businesses are thriving. And when everybody is thriving, then we could go ahead and spend the money on the not-for-profits and the arts. And the arts are critically important. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Luma is recognized as one of the top 10 attractions throughout the whole United States. California, they really promote it. That brings people in here. When we're bringing in new people, we're creating jobs for them. The real estate market goes up. Everybody goes ahead and they prosper from that. So that, I believe, is the number one question that as I go door to door, I keep hearing. You know, they don't want to just hear about where are we now or where were we before. They want to know what is the path to the future. And that's the path that I see.
What steps must be taken to ensure people have access to mental health resources?
When it comes to mental health, I know that during the Cuomo administration, we had shut down a lot of mental health facilities. And I talked to people who say that there's a long waiting list in order to get help. That doesn't help us at all, because basically if everybody in the community doesn't thrive, then nobody does. And we have a lot of people who really desperately need these resources. Again, getting rid of the waste, putting it toward the services that we need. There used to be a program a long time ago called CETA. And what they went ahead and did was they made sure that anybody who didn't get their GED, somebody who wasn't prospering in life, they hooked up with different companies and they had them act like mentors. You know, get them into a job that you know that they might do well on. Basically, you're mentoring them, helping them with that. They get pride in themselves, and at the same time, they have to, on the other end, complete different things. We had the mental health resources for them. We had the tutors for them. We went ahead and made sure that they thrived from all different angles. And that's something that's very important. You know, I've talked to different police stations who said, you know, there's all these different groups like AA and NA and so forth. They said, how come the government can't go ahead and allocate some type of money where people act like a sponsor? So if somebody is starting to feel like, you know what, I may slip back into this, that they could go ahead and reach out to their mentors and make sure that they're going to be okay. Because we put all of this burden on all these not-for-profits. We are not stepping up to the plate anymore, and that is wrong.
New York State's bail reform laws remain controversial nearly 5 years after its passing. Do you think Albany needs to revisit bail reform laws, and if so, why?
Actually, they've revisited it a few times. Within the first 2 years that they had it, they changed it 4 times because they knew the different problems that were with it. So they had started off by saying, we need to do this because there's an overcrowding in our jails and our prisons. And they said that that actually interferes with our 8th Amendment that says you cannot do cruel and unusual punishment. Absolutely, you cannot. We have to make sure, again, that everybody's taken care of. So they said that, but then now they're going ahead and saying we're closing all these jails because they're empty. So which way is it? You know, what was the reason really behind this? So when I did a lot of research, the people who have been benefiting from this are the people who have committed crimes. For example, there was a gentleman by the name of Isaac Rodriguez. By the time he went for his first trial, he had already committed 55 more crimes, leaving one person for dead after he robbed him with his gang. So we're allowing people to go ahead and victimize more people all the time. That doesn't make anybody safe at all. You know, when you come up with legislation, you have to make sure that it's something that's responsible and makes people safe. Yet I don't really get the feeling that anybody is actually talking to law enforcement and asking them what they think is best. And we're putting them at risk with this all the time, and that's not fair. And part of the bail reform and also the soft on crime legislation is something that a lot of people don't talk about, which is something that I'm going to go ahead and work against. So it was introduced saying that if somebody sees, I'll give me as an example, if somebody sees me being just beaten up and they start stabbing me and so forth, they call the police. The police come and they arrest the guy. The guy is ticketed and he's released. Now let's pretend that you're the witness. So you're the one who had called the police. So now the person is free, and 35 days after he's released, so months and months and months before his trial, he is given the names and home addresses of every single witness. So now he knows where you live. He knows to you it's not a case of allegedly he did this. He knows you saw that. So he knows you stand between him possibly going to jail and walking free. That doesn't make the people who are witnesses safe. And on top of that, he can get into my house and go ahead and ask me questions under the guise that it helps him to go ahead and refresh his mind on what happened. Well, now you're making a victim out of somebody twice. And then on top of it, he could technically ask for the police officer's address. The police officer is the one who witnesses it. You know, our police officers risk their lives every single day. And, you know, I can't thank them enough for what they do. Now we're asking them to put their families at risk as well. That's not acceptable in my book. There's been a number of problems with that industry, and even my opponent had mentioned it when she was on another show. So basically, when we rolled this out, we didn't learn anything from California. California had mentioned all the different problems. The fact that they had promised farmers certain things, it didn't happen. The fact that they thought it would make things safer and more legal, it didn't happen because they didn't take the right steps. So by the time we had ushered this in, all these reports were out, and we didn't learn from it. We didn't listen to it about how much water that it takes and so forth. The other thing that I've heard from people in that industry is they said, do you know how much money we pay for a license? So they go ahead and it's about $35,000. And they said the more licenses that you try, the better chance that you have. But unlike other industries where if you don't get it, you get most of your money back except for the processing fee, our state goes ahead and keeps this money. So they said that they feel like it's kind of almost like a bait and switch type of thing. And I hate to use that phrase, but I heard it from a few of them. They said, I feel like, you know, I'm convinced to go ahead and try more than once, so I'm giving up all this money, and if I'm not selected, I'm out of all that money. Well, that's not how we grow businesses. You know, when we grow businesses, we have to be accountable to everyone. And so we have to look at the farmers, we have to look at the small business people, and we have to see where there's a need and where there's going to be problems. You know, again, we have to start making people accountable because in government, they've just been wasting their money. A lot of other states actually use this program, and what they do with that is they find duplications. So you never look at, let's eliminate a job, because jobs add to the economy. So this software, you can go ahead and pick different filters. You never pick where you're going to eliminate a job. But what they do is they find that there's duplication on checks going to places, and so you get rid of that. They find where it will say things like 29% pay raise. Really, the cost of living is what most people get. They don't get 29%. And by the way, we are the highest paid state legislature in the nation. Nobody gets close to us at all. So these are all ways we have to go ahead and reel that in, and we have to make sure we have affordable housing for everyone. That's been a concern from the students on up to the elderly. I know that the seniors are paying money that they can't afford to live in different facilities. I've talked to some that have told me that they pay $4,000 to $8,000 every single month on top of having to buy their little apartment or cottage. And they say, you know, the only reason I can afford that is because I don't expect to live long by the time I do that. And that is a horrible way to treat our people. We have the students who also need affordable housing because when we build this economy, we need places where they can live, you know, places where they can set roots. And when you have a home, a place that you can call your own, you have more of a vested interest in a place. You feel more permanent, and you know that you have more value. So we have to go ahead, take away from the waste, put it to that type of need. There's so many other needs besides housing too, but I'm glad that you asked that question.
Thank you once again for giving us your time and speaking with us.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.